afternoon. It's great to be here again on the stage by choice, which we know when you work with Muna, you have a lot of it. I'm actually glad to be here trying to moderate a panel. This morning we heard a lot about insights from our industry, how things are changing, where are the opportunities, and where we're going from here. But the question is, do we continue doing things the same way we've done them in the past? The industry has been going through really great transformation at the moment. Customer expectations, our behavior are changing. The AI, if you haven't heard enough about it since morning, please raise your hand. But also the demand and the pressure on delivering. So do we continue building our commercial teams at property level in the same way we've done it all the time? Or do we actually have to rethink about it? Is there a solution? Is it a one-size-fits-all? Or is it actually going to be tailor-made to what is the right and optimum structure should be in our hotels? Do we keep it in-house? Does the proximity to operation is actually a necessity anymore? Or do we outsource it? Do we need to actually diversify our talent, create more opportunities for innovation, and look for new ways of doing things? Or do we create shared services for us to actually create more efficiency on the way we do it? Now, luckily, I don't have to answer these difficult questions. I have experts from the field who's going to come and help me as we explore those ones. And we've handpicked them to make sure that they represent different perspectives in the commercial structure that we usually run in hotels. So please allow me to welcome them, not just because he's from Accor, but I'm going by order. Matthew Roberts, our VP of Global Sales, Raffles and Fairmont Hotels. Ahmad Jabr, Executive Director, Marketing, Creative Studios, and Business Development, Jabr Communicators. PM, as he likes to be called, Head of Marketing, IMEA, and Field Marketing at IHG. And last but not least, we really wanted to bring a GM's perspective. So thanks, Anne-Marie, for agreeing to be with us on this panel. Great. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here with us. I guess the first question to all of you, from what we've been hearing a lot in our industry, the top of the question, and by the way, we started this panel as a optimum marketing and communication structure, but then someone, Muna, fall in love with the topic, and she said, no, we need to expand it, and we need to talk about it commercial altogether. So the first question to all of you, the traditional way of us creating Director of Revenue Management, DOSM roles, and the way that we structure, is that still relevant today? Is that how we actually should be looking at it, or should we look at it a little bit differently?
You want me to jump in?
Up to you guys.
It's definitely changing. The model is definitely being challenged. We're in an environment where there's a lot of tech enablement. Data processing is massive. Distribution is playing more a part, and that is creating opportunity. It's making processes lighter. It's enabling big data analytics. It's enabling performance management of hospitality businesses. And there is an ability to downsize the size of commercial teams, dare I say, but actually boost productivity. So I think it's
I agree. I think the days of having silos of a director of marketing, a director of sales, director of revenue have gone. They have to be completely integrated with each other to have one commercial strategy for the hotel now. So and technology plays a much larger part than it did years ago, and now we've got AI coming down the road as well, which I imagine is going to influence that even more. So I think the traditional silos are gone, and technology and a unified strategy between those three functions is absolutely essential for any hotel now.
Perfect. And Pierre-Marie, in your perspective, when it came to marketing, IHG took a little bit a different sort of direction with the shared services setup. Do you want to tell us a little bit about why and how do you guys find it?
Sure. So just to give a bit of background for people in the room, at IG we looked at a centralized model for marketing, and I think most of you are aware of that model on the revenue management side of things. But a few years ago, we decided to do the same thing for the marketing organization, and actually that came with two prerequisites. One was a regulatory one. That was at the time that Saudi was kind of enforcing the Saudization for marketing talent on property. So we came at that time where you had a lot of expats on property in Saudi Arabia that ended up not getting their visa renewed and just had to leave. So that left a big gap for hotels. The second element is about the talent themselves, right? Recruiting the talents for some of these hotels is a challenge, and that's something that we've exchanged on earlier as well. So we came with the the concept of the centralized marketing shared services, just to alleviate the need for hotels to be thinking about how to go behind the regulations and find a way to have marketing people without calling them marketing on property, and how do we attract and retain the marketing on property without attracting those talents and having to retain those talents as well. So that's the reason why we built at IG in this part of the world the marketing centralized services model. And working very well. And again, for those of you who attend that conference, I spoke about it, I think 3 years ago or 2 years ago, and we were just launching it, and as of today, still there.
Interesting. And Ahmad, it's interesting that you're sitting on a panel with hotelier, being an ex-hotelier yourself at Jabr Communicators, building on how IG saw the solution. You stepped outside of hotels into the other side because you saw an opportunity, especially in markets like Saudi. So do you want to tell us a little bit of how Jabr actually today operate and what solutions you provide?
Definitely. So first of all, it's great to be here on this panel with ex-colleagues. I worked actually with both IG and Accor as Fairmont and Raffles. In fact, I've been in different roles in the hotel industry, and I'm not a hotelier. As a student, and I studied hospitality to become a hotelier. I'm a marketeer. So I studied business. I love hotels. I have passion, and I have the interest in working in hotels. And I came here to United Arab Emirates and worked with different hotels and brands. What came actually to my mind at first when we started thinking of reducing the gaps as well, because we noticed that there's a gaps in being in a hotel level with a certain resources, with a certain capabilities and talents to retain. It came to my mind saying, okay, now I don't see that there is much of specialized agencies in our region focused on hospitality. You can find a great creative agency, great PR, great social media, but at the same time, the fragmentation cost a lot for the hotel. Not only just about the money, it's about the time, about the alignment, about working with different stakeholders. So Jabr by itself, it came to solve or to support a need. So Jabr by itself, it's a solution with ex-hoteliers background. It's not only me as ex-hotelier. I have 14 people in my team. They are all ex-hoteliers, plus the second level, they are the creative people. So we merge between hospitality people and creative mindset. This gives us a great layer. And so in a summary, we think like hoteliers, but we act like marketers.
Perfect, great. And Anna, I want to go back to you because you talked about the fact that there are no more silos. We need to put like really the commercial hat on everyone. From where you sit as a general manager today, how did your perspective on your expectation from your commercial team changed over time?
I think it's changed quite radically in the last few years. I still remember as a GM before somebody bringing to me the idea that we'd centralize the revenue process and being very against it, thinking, oh my God, how will I cope without having my revenue manager or director on property? But, you have to evolve and change, and things can't stay the same. So I think, when I look at it as a hotel, I look at the three platforms of kind of people, platforms, and partners. And you have to think, where's the best bang for my buck, basically. And traditionally having this high level of payroll on property isn't really the way forward going, and the change in technology is so fast now. You need to have extra support to be able to get you the best processes, the best platforms that you can to operate your commercial strategy from. So I think, but it all comes down to people at the end of the day. I think, it's all about relationship management. So whether you're partnering with somebody, whether you're using a platform, there's always someone behind the engine. And that relationship still remains absolutely integral to the success of the commercial property strategy.
Okay, perfect. Matthew, I want to go back to you because we talked about the customer expectation, the change, and how AI is impacting the customer journey and the behavior, but you manage also a complete different set of audience as well. The previous panel talked about the asset management and the relationship with owners. How do you look at that from going into several conversation of trying to actually convince or debate about what is the optimum commercial structure on a property level should be? And do you see a difference in certain markets in terms of what it looks like?
Answering the last question first, yes, there's a big difference from market to market, but also from hotel to hotel. There's a lot of criteria that you can look at in order to determine what's the need for your commercial structure and the size of the team. First of all, what's the size and shape of the hotel? It's not only key count, it's how many what's your F&B profile? Are you banqueting led or are you retail F&B led? If you're retail F&B led, what are your outlets? Are they signature destination dining outlets, in which case they might have a stronger marketing requirement? That informs something that you need there. Are you a resort? If you're a resort, are you a golf resort or are you a beach resort? That's going to inform different things. If you're a city hotel, are you transient led or are you group led? Are you B2C led? Are you B2B led? That determines perhaps if you need more marketing or revenue management or if you need more sales. If you're transient led, what's the extent of intermediation in your transient business? And how much can you drive potentially through distribution levers instead of traditional sales contracting levers? One of the things that we talked about in our preparation calls was taking that example of a resort hotel, of which we have many in the UAE, but you can operate some pretty large resorts with a fairly small commercial team if they're highly B2B led in their mix, if there's a high degree of intermediation in the business that they're getting, and if there is a small group of intermediates. If you're driving the majority of your leisure wholesale business through a handful of DMCs and tour operators, you can manage that with a fairly small sales requirement, and if that's the majority of your business, you don't need a large marketing team. Yeah. So there's a wealth of factors in there that you can consider.
That's interesting. And Pierre-Marie, when you created the shared services module, did you face resistance from GMs, properties, and what was the value proposition that you put forward? How did you sell this to your individual hotels?
Yeah, I think it was coming at the back of COVID as well, right? So and everybody was talking about the talent and the difficulty to recruit those talent on property, especially for marketing, right? And we discussed earlier as well, but if you take a market like, Saudi Arabia, when you have good marketing talents, obviously, and these people have to be national Saudis as well, they'd rather go into other industry than the hospitality industry, right? So it was a challenge. Now, having said that, I think initially there was some resistance from the GMs, and exactly from what you mentioned, I think it's like, where is going to be my marketing person, right? I'm not going to see my marketing manager every day coming to the office, but it's been the same thing with some revenue management being outsourced as well. So that was one, I would say, one key element that we had to face. And to answer your question on more like how we pitched and turned the entire thing, I guess it was about like the value that we bring from having that knowledge centrally, because obviously as you have someone, who's going to manage 5 to 10 hotels, that person is picking up, from 5 and 10 different properties, right? So the learning is being built up a lot more quicker than when you have one solo person, sitting on property. So having the expertise of a central team really helped as well to deploy the model to the rest of the hotels and to GMs and owners. And there's a cost element, but cost, some people always ask me, you know, like, is it a cost factor? You're trying to get rid of people on property, and we always say we don't. And I think we'll come to that as well in terms of like a hybrid model of, you know, many hotels would still need people on property on the ground, as well as probably some support in a central team.
Okay, I think what's interesting, Ahmad, is how the business model that JBR offer today present a difference value, if any, compared to a shared services solution. Where do you see the difference on what JBR is offering versus a module like what PM just explained today?
Definitely. I think there is two ways to look at it. There is the direct value and the indirect value. The direct value comes with the speed of delivery, the quality, the model itself, finding the right talent, getting the advice from experts, preparing and planning, because you know what hotels usually with a small teams or a mid-sized team in general, they become with the load of work reactive more than proactive. With having an outsourced agency supporting them on the planning phase, it gives them this threshold of putting a plan together, thinking ahead, thinking of Ramadan, thinking of festive, thinking of rooms campaign in summer, planning, and because they have wider talents to support them, and we use the people that work at the hotel level for the coordination, for the managing the stakeholders' relationship with their managers, at the same time if there's an event on site. But what I also agree with Matthew said about there's no size fits all. What works good for a business hotel is completely different than a resort, and it's completely different than a remote location.
Yep.
Because sometimes you struggle to have the talent. And when you struggle to have the talent also, you need to keep in mind the indirect value, which is the headache comes to the GM and the USM, is to stop thinking of sales and trying to replace this person, trying to do the HR work, trying to do a lot of back of the house work. It changed their mind from focusing on sales than more into the admin work. So when you have an outsourced agency with the support of someone or a small team in the property, you get this level of dynamics, and that helps with the turnover as well, reduce the turnover rate, and because any hotel lose a talent in general within sales or marketing or revenue, you have a turbulence minimum of 30% of the time of the year until you get this person hired with the replacement, and then you get this person on board.
So essentially you're taking off the load of like really the overhead costs, the retention and all of that by actually taking the burden for the hotel, because you manage the talent, you manage the team, and you become the extended team.
Definitely. So the JBR model in a simple way, yes, we are an extension to the marketing teams. That gives them the support and give them the as well the leverage to utilize our experience as ex-senior hoteliers worked in our region in general. And we do serve in different locations that really struggle to find talents. Maybe in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, in some major cities, that's maybe not the main case. But for example, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, at some point, with the regulations changes, that causes a headache for people working as a senior to an admin roles. At the same time, commercially, makes the GM focus on quality. Perfect. And focus on their core, and USM just to focus on sales, because he has the back support of that marketing is going well in two ways. I know maybe I added a lot of information now, but we focus on two aspects: to keep the property on brand, working with the brand team, at the same time maximizing and optimizing the revenue for owners. So your results gets better because of sales, really focusing on sales, and we focus on marketing.
Anna-Marie, I want to pick your sort of brain on that. Obviously, in a typical operational module, there are some services in hotels usually that we outsource. Mm-hmm. Some we continue to manage. If what the gents here have explained, whether it's an internal shared service or an outsource for marketing could work, do you see that could work for revenue, for sales? as well?
Revenue already works very effectively, but actually I'm going to have a conversation with Ahmad tomorrow about marketing because talent is a challenge, and I run a remote resort in the middle of the desert, and so for me to try and keep consistency in talent, people might come for 1 year, but 1 year goes in a flash, and so we've constantly, since I've been there 2.5 years, been turning over in marketing, and it's not good for the commercial strategy of the property as well. So tomorrow, I think you always have to be open-minded. You have to look at all your options. Clustering's another option. I could cluster with another property in Riyadh, or I could think out the box and see what his company has and whether that might take a few more headaches off my plate from marketing. Because I just think, we always have to challenge ourselves to think, how can I do things differently? How can I do things more efficiently? But how can I bring better value to the resort as well? So I think you've just got to be open-minded at all of these changes that come along. And as I say, there's more coming down the road. It changes every single day.
100%.
And so I don't feel that you can stay set in the past or set in the structures that you had in the past. You've always got to be open-minded and explore opportunities about how you can work faster, how you can work more efficiently, and how you can work better.
Makes sense. Matthew, if I go back to you on strategy versus execution, does it work to be completely outsourced, or maybe the strategy remains in and the execution can be outsourced? What's the thoughts on that?
I think you can. I feel like outsourcing strategy is very common. Ask Bain, McKinsey, ask Ahmad, they'll tell you. And at unit level, those are large examples, but at unit level, we do a lot of that today. We outsource sales representation. We have shared service models with different hospitality companies that PM was telling us about. We outsource mystery shop programs, upsell programs, et cetera, et cetera. There are examples within commercial that we're outsourcing today. The one thing I would say about execution is that something that I remember from the early days of my career is being told that you can delegate task and process, but you can't delegate responsibility. So as the commercial leader of the property, as the GM, you retain responsibility for performance if you're outsourcing. And why I mention that is because it means it's really critical that you work closely with your outsource partners, or your shared service leaders, to make sure that expectation is clear. Yeah. When delivery is greater or equal to expectation, then satisfaction occurs. So that for me is key. Spend time with your outsource partners, with your shared service providers, to make sure that expectation and deliverables are clear, so that everybody knows when they are when you're in the execution phase.
I guess the open question to all of you, so what is the recommended module from your side? Obviously from Jabr, we know what it is. But is it shared service? Is it in-house? Is it outsourced? Or is there a need, to what we said earlier, there's no one-size-fits-all, so maybe we need a hybrid?
I believe it's a hybrid. I think that every property is different, every market is different, and so you've just got to weigh up the set of circumstances that you're in and make the best decisions. Every property is completely different, whether you're a high luxury end property or whether you're Premier Inn or something. Everybody's got different needs, so I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all for this. For me, it's a hybrid. You just got to take the decisions that are right for your particular property.
And I guess especially in the marketing and communication front, right? You need, my team is bringing the expertise from an IHG standpoint to the hotels, right? But I would still rely on probably a JBR or some other companies as well to just support us in some of those delivery, right? So I think it's not about conflicting, it's about complementing each other. And again, on that hybrid, I think some hotel may need talent on property, some hotel may not need talent on property. And then, how do you work with your shared services model as well as an external partner? There is no one-size-fits-all.
I guess, Ahmad, even from your perspective, you cannot fully operate without having at least a connection with the hotel. You need someone at the hotel to work with you on a day-to-day basis, right?
Well, definitely. In general, hybrid is the future, in general. So it worked for housekeeping, it worked for F&B, it worked for operations, the outsourcing model. Yeah. So why not marketing? Why not commercial? So I think instead of asking why, we have to ask why not. We have different scopes in general. I don't want to pick and choose one of the scopes, but we have hotels started with them with a zero marketing person, and in Saudi Arabia, this hotel. And we help the hotel to find the right talent so they can work with us, because the owners, they want one representative in that hotel. We have hotels, for example, in remote location that specific people needs to be accessed there, and not everyone is interested to be working in this property. Then we have very limited support from a marketing person in-house. We have a coordinator level. It's just like for finance and admin, but we do attend all the meetings with corporate offices. We attend even webinars and seminars with other suppliers and partners on behalf of the hotel, and we report back to the owners. So we sit in BRMs. So in this scope, I think hybrid is the future. So there is no size fits all. That's in a summary.
Matthew, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm probably echoing the sentiment. I think the dream would be if we had unlimited budget, if we had all of the talent that we need in every market in which we operate, if we didn't care about GOP, and we had owners that didn't care about their return, then we'd employ everybody direct and get every single piece of talent, and we'd have the best of everything. But that's not the reality of how we operate. We do have limitations on budget. And there are more efficient ways of doing things if we look at shared service options, or if we work with outsourced partners. So we have to be pragmatic. Every market is different. In terms of the availability of talent, the budget available, and every market is different in terms of the availability of outsourced options or
and
not.
Technology is just changing so fast as well. So to have a specialist in something that stays on top of how quickly that technology is changing makes a lot easier as an operator, as a general manager, than having to keep finding talent that can stay on top of the way technology is changing 100%. And how we're running our commercial activities.
Totally. We've got a few minutes left, so I would love to just turn to the audience to see if there is any question, topic to my panelist here. I know it's 4:30 on the first day. Lots to take in, but
more food to come.
I know we're not done yet.
Not with Muna, so still has things to show.
Any specific questions? Any thoughts? Not necessarily questions. Maybe agree, disagree with the panel. You're a very well-behaved audience.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So I think I just need to thank my panelists today for their insights. Thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it. And I think many of them will be here for the next day as well. So if you want to have conversations during the break, please feel free to do so. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.